guys, Pat here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I wanted to show you all an implement that I made for the backhoe, maybe 5 years ago. I had a couple little logs to move in the front yard. It would have been a lot easier for me just to use the chain, just throw the grapples on there. But I thought you guys might be interested in seeing what I've done here for moving a volume of logs or log chunks or roots or whatever you might have to move around out in your homestead, or if you got a wood lot. It takes a little effort to put it together, but if you have a volume of material to move, it will really save you a lot of time. There's the traditional, just grab a set of tongs and throw it up on a piece of, some chain, and put a chain on a hook up above on your loader bucket. That works good, but every time you want to remove this off the log, you have to get out of the machine, come over and just lift up one of the tongs and throw it over the other side of the log, so both the tongs are on the same side, so it doesn't grab it when you go to lift the bucket up and move the machine. There's also the chain method where you can, or chain or a strap method, where you can just have a hook or an eye or something like that, or a clevis up above here, and hook a chain or some other cable or device around the log and choke it, and then move the log that way. Let's take a closer look at what I have here. So if you are thinking about building something like this, you'll have a better idea on what I did and maybe ways to perfect it. Okay, first of all, you can just get a set of tongs. Now you can buy these, but buy good quality. I had bought a set from, I think it was Harbor Freight or one of those places at one time, and they bend all to pieces. They're not made out of very good steel. These are actually a set of tongs that I happened along at a garage sale, believe it or not, and they're a set of 26-inch Youngs, used but in perfect shape. And I went ahead and grabbed those up thinking, boy, those look handier in a shirt pocket, so I went ahead and picked them up. You can see the two cables coming up off of the sides of each one of the hooks here. I'll show you what those are useful for. That's part of this whole setup. Now, if you just wanted to do everything by hand, you wanted to move material by hand, all you would have to do is hook a chain there to a shackle. As you can see, I have a white shackle there. Tongs usually come with the round rings right there, and then you have to provide whatever apparatus that hooks to. So I have a larger shackle, and then I have it hooked to a smaller shackle, which in turn hooks to the inside of that chain link right there. So when you come across the log and this goes over top of the log, you can see this has kind of a scissor type effect to it. And the harder the vertical tension is, or the heavier the vertical tension, this will come together, and just the weight of the log will cause these two points here to pinch into the log. Again, we got two different size shackles, basically to adapt to this chain here. Go to the link. Then I have this shackle on this chain link all the time, so I know exactly what length to make the tongs, because I want most of the tongs to be underneath the cutting edge of the bucket. Of course, you can see that I don't really have a cutting edge on the bucket. That's the way I bought the machine to start with. It didn't have a cutter on it. But anyway, I want basically the arms of the tongs or grapples to be on the edge here. I don't want any of this stuff here to be on this, because this works better if the cutting edge drops below the hinge points and different things. So that's the reason I have that adjusted the way I have it adjusted. The other thing is I have it adjusted as close to the hinge as possible, so I can get a variance or different diameter logs, of course up to 26 inches at a time. Now if I had this higher, that's going to limit the possibilities of me using this whole area to pick up a log. So basically what I have here is I have this chain that's looped up around this grab hook here, and I have several different types of hooks on here, more hooks for putting chain on, and also have choker bells on the backhoe bucket for pulling logs. I have chokers with eyes on them that will go right in its choker bell, and that works really good for pulling logs as well. But anyway, so the chain is just wrapped around that hook and it's draped down to the front side of the loader bucket. So let me explain what these are here. And you don't, you know, this is just a luxury, you know. If you just got the setup I just explained, that will do the same work that I'm about to show you. But the stuff that I'm about to show you, the cabling that I'm about to show you, is really going to make a difference in timeliness and efficiency. This, I think, is just this 1/4-inch cable. It's this galvanized 1/4-inch cable, and I just have simple farmer's eyes on here that I looped in. These run back, you know, far away shot here so you can see what I'm doing. So we got the cable that runs back in here underneath the bucket, the loader bucket. And here's the underside of what I just pointed at. And as you can see, I just have a makeshift set of bolts here. These are actually keepers for the California style rims that you used to see on the old trucks and different things. I don't think they're used anymore where we live. I don't think I'd have a set anyway. But anyway, these are just spacers that I just used. They looked handy, so I grabbed them up and used them for putting all this together. Anyways, I think these are just simple 2-inch pulleys, and I have several of these different pulleys throughout the system, and I'll show you the reason why I have them. So we have horizontal pull on each one of these tong arms here, and that pulls this way through this pulley and loops around, so it's double blocked, and then this line goes back in and ties into this bolt set here, as you can see. So again, it comes from the tong arms back through the block, back around, loops through this block, and then ties back into where it's bolted to the bottom of the loader bucket. Second set of rigging here is this block here. I always have this on the machine. When I remove all of this setup here, I'll loop this back in amongst itself, and this will just free hang from the loader itself. I'll just unpin this block, remove this cabling here. This will go back into the shop, but then I'll take this and I'll put the block back up here and hang it from here, so it'll just loop in here and stay on the machine all the time. This block, as you can see, cable runs up through another block, and the reason I have this block on the machine is so we don't have the cable sagging and catching on different things when that is not in use, and actually when it is in use. So it goes through that block, and then it goes back towards the machine and goes into the cab. So here's a larger shot of the whole system. Underneath is a 2-inch block, double wrapped on that block, that 2-inch block, and then back onto itself and bolted to the bottom of the bucket. This block goes to that block, which is just to keep everything out of the way, keep everything getting in trouble, and then this line goes into the cab. And I have another one exactly the same on the other side of the machine. set up the same exact way. Out through that block and then back into the cab. I'll take you into the cab and show you what's next. Okay, now we're in the cab of the backhoe, and you can see down here there's a hole underneath and behind that block right there. Comes through the machine and up through that 2-inch block. And I have a part of a chain link welded to the frame of the machine itself. So you can see this is just the top of the machine, and this is just a chain link, and then I just have a farmer's eye holding this in place. Now this has doesn't have a whole lot of slack in it. I took all the slack out of it. I probably could afford to have a little bit more slack in this, just because when I move the bucket, curl the bucket up and down, it'll want to cause the grapple to open. So I should probably take and put just a little bit more slack in these, but it works the way it is. I'd rather have it a little bit tight than too loose. I'll take you to the other side. We have the same kind of setup coming through this side of the machine up through the block and ties into a chain link on this side. This is a piece of 1-inch square tube. I made these little rings here. When I pull on this cord or cable, I can put the cable on the back side of each one of these depending on the tension or the pull on the cable. So I found out by just using the machine and practicing getting all those logs that I got a few years back, this first one is plenty. Of course, I built all this in the shop, and this I made this special to where it'll bolt down there on the corner of the chassis or the cab, and then it runs up and it bolts to the other opposite corner from the bottom there. So this is really solid. So this is solid here. It won't move. And so what the idea of this is let's say that I'm actually in motion and I drive up on a log, I lower the bucket onto the log, and I'll demonstrate this for you. You lower that set of tongs on the log, and the tongs, they'll go over top of the log and they'll spread, and their tendency is to kind of fall closed. And so it'll go over top, but the shape of the grab hooks on those are beveled on the bottom, so they just fall over the log. But when I go to pick up, those hooks will actually grab a hold of the log. The tension will actually cause that to pinch closed. So if I don't want to do that, I'll make the tongs go slack, and I'll pull these cables, and it won't grab a hold of the log. So I got one for each side. Typically I operate the left hand side because my right hand is used for operating the curl, uncurl, up and down functions. And so I need my right hand to do that function. And so what I'll do is I'll hook onto a log, and then I'll put the machine into the reversed mode with my left hand. With my foot on the brake, I will then pull this cable, and that will loosen the grip on the grapple or on the tongs. The machine's already in reverse, so now I can operate with my right hand, pull back, and that will raise the bucket, the loader bucket, and cause the tongs to release whatever I've got a hold of. It could be a small stump, or it could be a log, and so that's how the cabling works. Okay, here's the last piece of the puzzle, and this is a rack or heel boom, something along those lines. It's a heel boom for cradling the log. And so you have 2 points of contact. You have this 2x2 inch cradle side, and then you have this side over here. It's 2x2. All this is 2x2 and 1/4 inch thick metal. I believe that's 7 inches by 2 inches channel. Obviously I have it just bolted on the back side of the bucket. Those holes go through the bucket, and I'll show you the front of that. But these two down here actually are threaded into this 4-inch piece of steel is welded on the back side of the bucket all the way across, clear to the other side, and it's a harder steel than the steel that's on the back side of the bucket, because you can use this. There's actually another piece of steel that comes underneath this one here, and you can use that edge to backblade or level out material when it comes to gravel or dirt. This is all fastened on here. You can see the grapples in the front there, and they're spread out because I have the bucket in such a way that it's pulling tension. So the idea is that you grab a log in the front and you pick up on it. The tongs will come closed, and the heel part of this, the log will extend out past here, just at least far enough to where the V-notch here on this will cradle the back side of the log, so the log doesn't flop from one side to the other. If you didn't have this, a lot of times if you fooled around with anything like this, you'll notice that your log will be flailing around out there in the front, swinging back and forth. But this little heel boom here actually works great. It keeps your log straight, so you know where the front of your log is. So if you have a little mill, or you're loading the backside of a dump truck, or you're just piling logs up in the yard, this is a very efficient way to handle material. And using these cables, you can open those cables and drop the log without having to get in and out of the cab every single time you want to pick something up and drop something off. So I'll go ahead and start the machine up and demonstrate to you how it works. Okay, as you can see, this log is very securely up underneath that heel boom there, and you can see the log is not moving anywhere. I'm hitting the machine. The machine is actually swaying back and forth, and that is very solid. So you can use this for repositioning logs on a little mill, or moving them around, cold decking or whatever like that you want to do with your existing backhoe. You can turn it into a little log loader. You know, you really can't see in the front of this thing, so it takes a little bit getting used to know, you know, to kind of get the feeling of how far you need to move in before you lower down and grab a hold of the log. But after a while you get pretty fast at it. Because I don't have enough tension on that, the tongs or the grapples don't work as good on smaller logs like 6 inches and under, but you can make it work. Again, if I was to do a lot more moving with material and logs like this, I would make this cable just maybe just 4 inches longer, but you can see where that's really solid. I'll take a couple of more shots of me going over top of the log. Tried to show you some of the functions while I was in the machine, being able to work these back and forth. Sometimes the hooks here on the tongs, they don't want to go over the log, but if you pull back on those cables that I showed you in the cab, while your loader bucket is lowered next to the log, you can just pull on those cables and it'll pull these things, and then they'll fall right around the log so you can pick them up. And hope I showed you enough information here that you know, if you guys are interested in building one of these for your backhoe or farm tractor, then you can see the benefit where you have a lot of material. If you just have 1 or 2 logs, yeah, just you know, just having one of these without the cables, or just having a cable, a choker, or a chain, or a strap works, you know, just as good for a short, sweet application. But if you got a lot of material to move and you kind of want to make a small loader, a small log loader out of this backhoe, that's just a good implement. I had the metal on hand. I purchased these. They just look handy. Whether or not I made the adjustments or added to the cabling or anything like that, these are just handy by themselves. So anyway, I hope somebody got something out of this. Leave some comments below. I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks, take care, and God bless.